Hey everyone, Bradley tuning in, coming at you with another live video. I have seen some crazy things when I go through these showings. I've seen grow-ups, I've seen houses people have died. In fact, we just did a deal where there's a house someone had passed away. I've seen people sleeping in their beds. They don't answer the door. You walk in the room and they're sleeping. And I've seen teenage boys having parties to themselves in their bedrooms. But I thought, you know what, let me share the top 5 craziest things that I've seen when I go to these showings. I'm a realtor and investor in the Greater Toronto area, and I've seen some pretty wacky stuff. If you're following us for the first time, check out our GTA Real Estate page and follow that. We do these live videos every week, 12 o'clock noon. And if you're following us on our Watson Estates page, you can subscribe. Again, we post the same content. And if you're following us on Facebook, give me that wow face. I want to see the engagements going up. It helps push the content further. And of course, some of these stories are just wow stories. So I want to see that as well. So where does all of this come from? I mean, if you guys have these crazy stories, I'd love to hear them. Leave them in the comments. You can put them below and you guys can go through and check out some of the other wacky stuff, whether it's your own house or a friend. But all of this came from a news article that I was sent yesterday, okay? And this is what it says. I'll read it to you. The headline said, "There's blood everywhere," quote unquote. 911 call reveals moment realtor found dead bodies in Chapel Hill home. Now, this was an article that came from the States. The agent had done previews of this house, and as soon as they went in, saw blood all over the place. A mom who was 86 and her son who was 53 had been killed. Still haven't figured out the scenario, but it got me thinking. I haven't never walked into it. First of all, let me clear this up. I've never gone in a house and found dead bodies, but I've seen some pretty crazy stuff. So I thought, you know what? Let me share some of the fun stories that have gone, and there's various stuff. We got creepy stuff. We got stuff that have to do with different fears. I thought I'd share those with you, and here they are. So let's start with number 5, all right? Number 5 was a Victorian home that I went through with my clients. As soon as we walked in the door, we heard this creaking sound, right? So this is a creepy story if you can't tell. Set the mood. Fortunately for us, we were going during the day. Holy, if we had it at night, we would have been done. But we heard this creaking sound, right? And then all of a sudden, boom, slam. So we're looking around. We're like, what was that? And we start walking around this house. We go upstairs. We heard it a couple times by now. It just kept going over and over. So we went upstairs into this house, and old wooden doors, these old-fashioned doorknobs, the master bedroom door continuously was opening itself and creaking closed, like just a huge slamming sound. And what we figured out is because all the windows, these old school windows, some of them were open, and it was creating this draft. Now, unfortunately, the house is vacant, so we couldn't close it. So we just went about our showing, listening to this slamming sound over and over and over. But yeah, very, very intense. So that was number 5. Number 4. So I went in this basement bathroom once, and it looked like they had just renovated. I think it was different students living in rooms, but they had updated this bathroom, and the toilet was in the middle of the room, of their bathroom. I'm like, what the heck? You could wash your hands while you're sitting on the toilet. It looks so ridiculous. What I figured had happened was they didn't want to redirect the plumbing, and they just hooked it up right there, and it looked absolutely ridiculous. I took a picture of it. It was actually hilarious. So that was number 4. Okay, number 3 spooks me out the most because it has to do with heights. I don't know what height you guys have ever been in, but the highest that I was in the Marilyn Monroe buildings in Mississauga. Those are the funky ones that kind of, you know, give that weird shape. You drive right past Square One, you can't miss them. It's like the main point of Mississauga. There's 2 big buildings, not just one. There's 2 of them. So the highest I'd been, and they have balconies. I was on the 50th floor in a unit on the 50th floor, and it was facing the other tower. Now, why that was interesting is you can feel at that level in the elevation, you can feel a wind tunnel coming between the 2 buildings. So as soon as I stuck my head out, I felt this like massive draft, right? And I'm just like, nope, not for me. Hey, you put me over 25 floors, I don't even want to go on the balcony, but 50, my clients were fine with it. They thought it was awesome. But I would say out of all of these, that would probably be the single house I would not live in, because no way, no how. So that was number 3. Number 2 was a house on a street called River Street, which is ironic because of the story. You guys will recall that earlier this spring, we had those crazy rainstorms that happened. It just hit us for like weeks, right? And you guys remember hearing the water levels were high. If you weren't anywhere near water, you didn't recognize it. I'd gone walking around and had seen it all over the place, but not like this. I saw a house on a street called River Street. And so if you were to go in from the backyard in the bungalow and you were to look back, it's probably 100 feet is probably the backyard. Add another 25 meters and you're now in the river. But between the river and the backyard was a path. So the water levels from this river had increased so much that it actually came through the chain link fence a third of the way up the backyard. And not only was there water, the water was coming through. So it was actually crashing through all the neighbors' backyards. And we saw a flow of water coming through the backyard. Absolutely ridiculous. Okay. And number one, I saw a house. I don't know if you've seen these houses that are in California, but you've seen some of these ones. The streets are like this, right? So this street might have been a 45-degree angle, and there's actually house beside house. They do build them straight, but when you add that slant, it feels very strange. It feels like you're going to fall, right? Even when you're in the house, you remember, I'm in an angled neighborhood and I'm going to fall forward. And that was just half of it. The other side was this guy. I'd been in a lot of houses that had security cameras. Many times people try and hide security cameras as well to try and catch what people are saying when they're looking at their property, or they're just downright freaked out by people walking through and kind of touching their stuff. This one was overboard. These guys had like 6 or 7 big cameras all recording, front of the house, inside, bedrooms, kitchens, everywhere, backyard. And actually in the kitchen, they had a monitor that in real time showed all of the cameras and they were recording. So, man, we felt funny. Like, you go in, I figure if you put a skateboard at the top of that hill, you could probably reach 30 or 40 kilometers per hour before you hit the lights at the bottom of the hill. It's just absolutely huge angle. Also freaked out, probably wouldn't live in that house. That would be my number one. But I do want to hear what you guys, what are some crazy stories, some of the strangest things you've seen in houses? Let us know. Again, remember to follow us on our GTA real estate page. You can like it. We do these videos every week, 12 live. Normally we do tips and tricks, which is what you're going to see next week. But I just thought I couldn't resist but share some of the fun stuff that we see when we do these showings every week. And if you're following us on YouTube, subscribe to the Watson Estates page. Take care, guys. I'll see you next week. Keep it real.